Let us not forget everything that happens. It's by the will of Allah. Holy will. It's time to unite and stand, and we will be the best amongst men. It's not time to be extreme or a duty unthinkable, but to stand together as one. Tune into Sunnah followers, stream it every day, various platforms. Trust me, you'll find a way. Sunnah followers, you will make it through. The fitrah is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah by your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The fitrah is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through.
Wassalam wa Rasulullah. I'd like to welcome everybody to our first class for today, which is our Aqidah class. And of course, that was the commercial for this class. That is our commercial that speaks about making it through. How do we make it through life? That's the question. A lot of people ask me, ever since Ramadan has ended, I've been trying to work on myself, which I hope everybody's working on their self too. We're supposed to keep it moving and try to compare ourselves when next Ramadan comes around. And what I've been working on with myself is not staying up all night, because you guys know I'm a night owl. I worked third shift for 36 years, so I try to make it a point to be in the bed by 12 o'clock. Okay, I may not be asleep, but I try to make myself go to sleep, so I'm not up until 8 in the morning anymore. But subhanallah, we have to work on, changing ourselves. And since I've been getting up early, a lot of the sisters, the new sisters have been calling me. I don't take calls from these Zoom people. They see me in the Zoom room, but I make it a point to answer the new sisters that we've gathered over Ramadan. And some of you who, when I see you call, I do, as you notice, I've been taking your calls because you're new, And subhanAllah, it seems like the number one question that most of you have is how to handle. How can we make it through? How can I get through my tests, my trials, my problems in life? Because all of us have problems, and Allah will give us problems based on where we are. And what I tell you guys, when you call me, I give you all the same answer. The only way to make it through is through your holding on to La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That belief system. The belief system of the Muslim is everything, guys. That's the only way any of us will be able to make it through. And that's why I love that commercial, that I put together. The video, the man is crying, because that's how life does. It starts off with the woman crying. And I made sure when I put that video together that I use people from all over the world, black, white, Arab, Pakistani, so you can see that all of us are faced with problems in life. Okay. And sometimes we get to that point where we say, what's the point? What's the use? I'm tired. We get tired of dealing with the same old drama, just on a different level. Same drama on a different level. And the thing I see with the sisters here, because I deal with the sisters, I don't take calls from the men. Y'all know that. Men call me, they'll never get an answer. But for the you sisters, I take your calls. And all of you seem to have the same problem. It's an issue dealing with your husbands or your sons or a man that you're supposed to be marrying and it's not working out right, or your father is preventing you from doing it. Seems to be the drama, for most of you sisters, then you get over one drama, you finally get your father or your guardian to agree to a marriage. Then you realize once you get married, there's a problem with your sons and your new husband. And let me talk about that for a minute. Now, do you sisters, I was talking to one sister, she's a Bantu. Most of my people that call me are from Africa. Most of my students are, I don't know, my dawah always appealed to the Muslims in Africa. May Allah bless all the Muslims in Africa, because they saw through it in 1986. My first followers were Africans, subhanallah, and all the sisters that call me about this, I want y'all to understand, do you see the wisdom of Allah? The wisdom of Allah. Now you women are older, and now that you have sons from previous marriages, now do you see why Allah makes the rules that he makes? The children belong to the mother when they're young, but when the children reach the age of puberty, that's when the father steps in. Do you get it now? Because it's hard for a man to raise another man's child. Do y'all see that? Because your son, is not going to take direction from another man. He's going to that's just automatic. And your new husband is going to be jealous and envious of your boys because this is another man's child. Even in the animal world, it works that way. Do you sisters know that if a new lion comes upon a pack, he will kill all the male cubs? He will kill all the male cubs of the previous king. That's just how Allah made it. So now you see that wisdom as to why, when a woman remarries, who's deserving of the children now? The father. Because it's going to be opposition there. Those two men are going to be bumping heads, all because of their attachment to you. So you sisters are going to have to learn how, like I was advising one of the Bantus that called me this morning, deal with it with dignity and humility. And like I suggested to her, because alhamdulillah, she belongs to a good Islamic community. And like I told her, you might want to do counseling with the imam, because she has a good imam. I know the imam of her community. So I told her, that imam, I know him. I said, he's a good imam and he does counseling. He'll sit down with you and with your new husband and your son and try to help you guys to work it out. Okay? So now you see the hikmah, the wisdom of Allah. That's why we should never question Allah's laws and Allah's rules, because he knows his creation better. And the same with the girl. For those of you who are not aware of it, I'm going to make that a topic for one of my Ask Sister Layla live shows. And I'm going to probably have Brother Muhammad Ziyada. You guys remember Brother Muhammad Ziyada, who's a police officer and also a counselor for youth? I'm going to have him come in for that. We have a big problem here with sexual molestation in our Muslim communities. Oh yeah, a lot of women, are marrying men and they have children from previous marriages, and they find out that their new husband has molested their daughter or made some type of sexual advancement. That's a big problem. I don't talk about it with you guys because it's confident. That type of stuff I can't talk about. I can talk about other stuff with y'all, but not that. That's personal for people. I get about 3 phone calls every 2 weeks. I would say at least 3 calls I get every 2 weeks are women talking about how their husband, has made some type of sexual advance on their daughter. This is a big phenomenon going on now. It's one of the signs of the last hour. Well, now do you see why? If you divorce and your daughter is over the age of puberty, now do you see why your husband can take her? Because a man is going to protect his daughter. He ain't going to let no other man or no other wife bother his daughter. Okay? So that's why Allah makes the rules. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when the children are below the age of puberty, like he told Umar, radiallahu anha, when Umar went to Cuba, y'all see how I'm always giving y'all examples from the companions to back up everything I say. When Umar, radiallahu anha, went to Cuba, one of his ex-wives was outside with his son. He hadn't seen this child in a couple of years. Men move on. But when he saw the little boy and saw how the boy had grown, Umar said, "That's my son." He said, "Come here. I'm taking you back to Medina with me." The little boy ran to his mother and held her. She said, "No, Umar, you can't have him." He said, "This is my son." And then the Prophet came out the mosque and saw the commotion. He said, "Umar, what are you doing?" Umar said, "This is my son, O Prophet of Allah, and I'm taking him back to Medina." And the woman was crying. She said, "Oh, Prophet, we've been divorced now, for 2 years." She said, "This is my baby, my child." She said, "Who's most deserving of him?" And that's when the prophets got quiet, and that's when Allah sent the revelation, and that's when the prophet said, "Umar, the person that is most deserving of him is the mother, because he's in the formulative years." He said, "Let that boy loose and give him back to his mother." He said, "Once he reaches puberty, then you can take him." So Umar said, okay, he didn't want to, but he put the little boy down and the boy ran to his mother. Okay, so that's when all this came down. So like the Prophet said, in the formulative years, the children need the mom, because the mother is the one that cares for them. The mother is the one that provides, teaches them manners, teaches them character. But then when puberty hits, now they need the man. They need the father for protection. They need the father for life guidance. So that's why your husband, after you divorce, if the kids are puberty, he can demand, and you remarry, he can demand his children. Because it's hard for another man to raise another man's son. And a man is a man is a man. Y'all know what that means. What's the biggest temptation on earth for even the most righteous of man? A woman. Can't never trust your daughter around any man who is not her father. Bottom line. Period. Dot. So that's why, and that's some of the problems that I'm dealing with in the mornings when some of the new sisters are calling me for help and advice. That's why I don't have time for y'all in my Zoom room. When y'all call, I don't answer y'all calls. I'm busy taking care of business with the website and people that need me. Y'all see me in the Zoom room. Y'all can wait till I come in the Zoom, unless somebody dying. If somebody dying, then they know Fresno know how to get in touch with me. I take all Fresno's calls. But that's what we're going to be speaking about today. The fitra. How do I handle the trials of life? Always when I'm doing it. Now I put that Instagram Instacart order in, wallahi, at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here it is. They had 4 hours to bring me my order. Now they decide to bring it. It never fails when I'm doing a class. Okay, so if I have to stop this because they banging at the door, and all I ordered was some kosher corned beef so I can make me a corned beef sandwich. Oh, that's all I ordered, just some corned beef and some bread. Lord have mercy. Okay, but anyway, guys, that's what we're going to be talking about today. You know, how do we handle the trials of life and come out winners? It's like the person heard me. They just texted and said, I'll be there at 6:30. What is this? Are you listening to me? Oh, you know what? It might be a Muslim. You know, we have a lot of Muslims. You know, let me talk about that for a minute. I'm very proud of the Muslim brothers and sisters. You know, there's a lot here where I live. I live in Cuyahoga Falls. MashaAllah, most of the Door Dashers and Instacart people are Muslims, women and men and their children. You know, and that's really good to see because Allah doesn't like nobody begging. You know, you can go out and chop some wood and sell it rather than ask from others. And so it's probably somebody listening to my class because they know me, and it's all lately I've been getting a lot of Muslim dashers. Okay, but anyway, well, 6:30, I'll be here. But anyway, how do we get through the trials of life? Is simple, guys, by holding firm to our shahada, by keeping the light in your heart burning through remembrance of Allah, through performing those prayers, through staying away from the things Allah command us to stay away from. And today, in this new chapter that we're embarking upon today, I think it's chapter 4 of the book, Diluting Wala Wal Bara. I think this is chapter 4. I love how Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid takes us on the journey of what happens once that fitra has been awakened. So let me put the PowerPoint up on the screen. I hope you guys read. We're covering pages 164 to 168, and I got a very, very interesting quiz that I'm going to ask you afterwards, because this is a very powerful chapter, because this chapter is where we all are at now. We're all Muslims who are practicing this religion in a non-Islamic country. So how do we keep firm to the rope of Islam? How do we adhere to Allah's laws? How do we keep the fitra within us ignited? That's what this chapter is about. Let me put the PowerPoint up on the screen. Let me take this down first. Hold on. Oh, and also, yes, somebody sent me a message yesterday and told me to take the donate button down because it was in the way too. Okay, so I'm going to take it down now. There you go. And make sure you guys screenshot. Let me take this background too. Okay, so make sure you guys screenshot the PowerPoints. Let me go to Zoom first. All right. You guys can look at this waterfall while I set it up on Zoom first for them to see. Okay, here it is. Okay. All right. I hope Mina is here, or Fame, or somebody to let me know if there's a problem with this. If y'all can.
I'm here.
Okay, good. You can see it. Okay, good. All right. Now for the people on YouTube, here I come. For you all. There it is. And, did I do it right? Yeah, because I get so confused with this way they changed this setup. Okay, let me make a bigger screen for you all. You like that waterfall? My little DNA cousin, my little Viking cousin Rashida's here. May Allah bless my baby girl, my cousin. Yeah, I like waterfalls too. Love them. That's why I live here. I live in the, that's the waterfall of where I live. Let me show my cousin. Well, I can't take that. Yeah, that's one of the waterfalls over here where I live. Jayla took that picture last summer. Last summer, me and Jayla had went past, it's down the street from me, to that waterfall, and she made a video of it and for me to put on here, and I used it last summer too. Yeah, that's one of the waterfalls here where I live. Okay, inshallah, everybody can see. And again, for those of you who have not yet purchased the book, please go to Amazon.com and pick up this. This is Diluting Wala Wal Bara. It's $20. It's worth the money. Don't settle for an ebook. The ebook does not do it justice. You need to have a book that you can hold in your hands and smell the print and study the print. So please, guys, purchase the book from Amazon. It's $20, and this book is almost 600 pages long. It's very much worth it. It should be a part of every American Muslim's library. Okay? And today, I think we're on chapter 4. We'll be speaking about how to implement allegiance and disassociation in a faith-filled environment. And this is where all of us are right now. And let's take a look at it. And Sheikh Kareem Abu Zayd begins this chapter by reminding us that once the fitra has been awakened. Oh, here we go. Okay. And Sheikh Kareem Abu Zayd begins this chapter by reminding us that once the fitra has been awakened within you, you're going to find yourself being drawn to want to seek out other Muslims and be around other Muslims. And I'm sure everyone listening to me can relate to that. Now that your faith has been ignited in your heart, you want to go to the mosque. Look how many women during Ramadan, even though you know you get rewards, more reward praying at home. Look how many of you still were drawn to the masjid. It wasn't so much for the reward of going there, because you know that your reward is at home. But the reason why many of you sisters wanted to go was just to be around other people like us. You wanted to be around other Muslims. So this is normal when the fitra has been awakened. You're going to find yourself seeking out other Muslims and trying to find Islamic centers and communities to attach to. Why? Because allegiance, having allegiance to Allah, allegiance to the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and allegiance to the religion emphasizes the significance of building solid bonds of brotherhood and solid bonds of sisterhood. Okay, you're looking for that sisterly love from someone who looks like you, dresses like you, believes like you. You go to work every day and you deal with a bunch of non-Muslims who are the opposite of you. So now you want to make that connection with someone who you don't have to explain yourself to. Someone that you don't have to justify your actions with. So that allegiance, that love, and that support, that's what you're seeking. And in regards to distancing, al-bara guides us in addressing harmful or detrimental behaviors, because al-bara, it protects our integrity and causes us to uphold our Islamic values. So now you want to be around other Muslims who don't drink, who don't smoke cigarettes, who don't curse, who don't have boyfriends. You want people like yourself. And so once we enter into this stage of of development. Now comes the time where we have to learn how to get along with each other. Why is it that many of you are still here? A lot of you came here during Ramadan because you were drawn to the knowledge. And now you're staying here because you want to know how to take that knowledge and implement it when you are in contact with other Muslims. Well, the only way you can learn how to implement allegiance and disassociation, with other Muslims is by following the example that the Prophet Muhammad and his companions laid for us. Okay, that's why I'm always using their examples with you. Because by integrating their teachings, integrating their practices into our interpersonal relationships with each other, this is how we develop a community that's based on unity, compassion, and respect, while remaining firmly grounded in our Islamic identity. So again, we have to have that example of the Prophet and the companions. And that's why there are some Islamic communities that you just don't like going to, because they're different. They don't have the attitude that the companions had. They don't act like them. But you find yourself drawn to those communities where the Imam is teaching the Quran and the Sunnah, where the Imam is doing the same thing I'm doing, giving examples of the companions and their stories. You're drawn to that because they are the mentors of the Muslims. They are the superheroes of Islam. There is nothing that we are encountering in our lives that they haven't. Like I told the sister earlier, this problem she going through is the same problem that Umar's ex-wife went through when he wanted to take her son. Okay? So there is nothing that we are facing today that they haven't already faced. So they are the example. And a faith-centered community that upholds this allegiance and its principles, and also upholds distancing like the Prophet and the companions did, this is a community that you're not gonna want to ever leave, because that community will help your fitra to grow and your soul to become more and more trained. That's why it's important as an imam that you don't just lead the people in the 5 daily prayers. That's why it's important that the imam have lectures too. You want us to give lectures 3 or 4 times a week too. You want to have lectures addressing what the people need to hear. Some of these masjids, they just do the prayer and that's it. No, where's the classes? Subhanallah. So the core of loyalty and allegiance, it entails helping each other, supporting each other. And this goes beyond geography. It goes beyond your political situation and physical limitations. Instead, we have to become brothers and sisters in faith. That allegiance so strong that I can overlook the fact that you are of a different culture, a different race, a different social status. But what brings us together is La ilaha illallah. And because of that, we are a family. We are a family. And that is why it's important for us as Muslims living in the West to make sure that we develop and establish Muslim states within our society. Does everybody understand that? What do I mean by a Muslim state? Okay? This is not a Muslim country. It's not our job to try to go around and convert people to Islam and try to turn it into an Islamic state. That's not what I'm saying. We live here in this society just as the companions lived in Abyssinia, which was another Christian society. But we established our own Muslim state. How? Through the masjids. By establishing masjids and Islamic centers and schools. So that way we can all live here in this world and be successful in this society, obeying the laws of this society, and still have our own separate Muslim identity and state to go to practice our morality. Does everybody understand that? So it's crucial to unite together as one under a Muslim state. I didn't say an Islamic state. I said a Muslim state. There has to be a masjid. There has to be an Islamic community. That's why the Prophet said, whenever there are two or more Muslims living in the same town, they have to establish congregational prayer. They have to establish a gathering where the Muslims can come together to remind each other of what our purpose is. Does everybody understand that? To also help each other in our times of need. And we can also come together to enjoin the good, forbid the evil, to help each other to establish allegiance to Allah, to the Prophet and this religion, and to encourage each other to distance ourselves from the things in this society that contradict that. So that's a Muslim state, not an Islamic state. Does everybody understand? We live in America. America is not an Islamic state, and it ain't your job or mine to make it that. We respect the laws here, but we establish masjids and Islamic centers so we can come together and enforce our way of life with each other. Okay, everybody understand that? That's very important. So again, Western countries are not Islamic states, but the principle of El Wala and Bara should be expressed through the local masjids, through the Islamic organizations and online platforms. Why do y'all think I made this website? I made this website in 1986. What happened was my job had closed and transferred me to another part of the state. I had no family. For the first time in my life, I was away from my Islamic community. I was away from my family. I was away from my friends. I had never in my life been exposed to a place that had no Muslims. So I developed a guide to bring Muslims from all over the world together, to give classes so we can learn the deen and maintain our Islamic identity. So that's what you do. The Western countries are not Islamic states, nor should you try to impose it to be an Islamic state. But we establish our masjids and organizations to maintain our Muslim identity. And in turn, we connect, we share our knowledge, we help, and we create an atmosphere of solidarity and unity. Everybody understand that? And this is incumbent upon us. This is something that we have to do. When the companions migrated to Abyssinia, they did that. They established a masjid. They would meet together to pray. They did the Eids together and all of that, even though they were living in a Christian country. All right. So by fostering an environment of love, compassion, and support, we can uphold the spirit of allegiance. And this will help to strengthen our hearts. This will allow our recently awakened souls to find peace and encouragement, even though the society is not one of Islam. Does this make sense? It should make sense to everyone. Okay? Again, it's all about brotherhood. It's all about sisterhood. That's what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam emphasized. That's why if those companions were living today and they saw or heard how you Muslims today are calling each other kafirs and oppressing each other, they would be dumbfounded. Because Islam is based on brotherhood and sisterhood, unity. We are one nation. We worship one Allah. We're supposed to be in solidarity with each other. But the problem is Muslims today do not understand the concept of brotherhood and sisterhood. And that's why we are our worst enemies. The worst enemies is not Israel. The worst enemy to the Muslim is ourselves. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it. He said our nation would never be overcome by its enemies, and our nation will never be destroyed by our enemies. No matter how much the Zionists in America want to stomp out Islam and kill all Muslims, they'll never succeed. But the Prophet said our destruction will come from each other. We will kill each other. We will oppress each other the way we're doing now. So it ain't Israel we have to worry about. It ain't America we have to worry about. It's each other. And that's sad because we do not understand the concept of brotherhood and sisterhood anymore. We've gone back to racism. We've gone back to tribalism. We've gone back to all of that garbage which destroys us. And without that unity, we'll never survive. And to give an example as to how crucial it is for us to understand the concept of brother and sisterhood, Ibn Masud, may Allah be pleased with him, he shared some insight. He said, when you read the Quran, you will come across the words, "O you who believe." He said, when you read the Quran and you come to a sentence that says, "O you who believe," listen attentively, because Allah is either carrying a message of goodness to enjoin upon you, or he's giving you a message of warning. So, "O you who believe," that means straighten up, listen. And this is why it's crucial for us to have a Muslim state within our society, because that way we can remind each other. When we come together, we remind each other of the call of Allah. We enjoin the good with each other and we forbid the evil. That's why we have to have these masjids. And we have to have these Islamic centers and organizations. You don't want to have a masjid where you just do a khutbah on Friday and the 5 prayers. No, where's your classes? You should have weekend classes for the adults and the children. Maybe a couple of lectures during the week for the adults. The weekend should focus on the children. Come on, Muslims, we got to get it together. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, "O you who believe." That means listen, what's getting ready to follow is something very important. Allah says, "O you who believe, fear Allah by obeying his commands and staying away from what he commanded you to stay away from." and do not die except as a Muslim in submission to him. Subhanallah. That's important. That's extremely, extremely important. In this surah, Al-Imran, Allah is telling the believers something important. He's given us a powerful warning that if we leave the path of Islam and take on another path, we're doomed. We're supposed to hold on to the rope of Islam until death. Don't deviate to the right. Don't deviate to the left. Don't adapt the behavior, the morality of the non-Muslims. We have to be mindful of our commitment to Allah and live each day of our life in submission to him, to his laws, his rules, his guidance, not man's, not your own. Does everybody understand that? And we've deviated away from that. We've become the Ruwaybida. We're taking fatwa, Islamic opinions over the Sunnah, over the Hadith, over the Quran. We're making things haram that Allah didn't make haram. That's not a state of submission to him. Also, in another verse, Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning, hold firmly to the rope of Allah, all of you together, and do not become divided amongst yourselves. And remember the blessings of Allah upon you. Remember when you used to be enemies and he brought your hearts together and you became, due to his blessings, brothers and sisters in faith. And you used to be on the edge of a pit, but he saved you from it. Thus is how Allah makes clear to you his words so that you be guided. Subhanallah. How many of us are living this verse? How many of us are holding on to the rope of Allah together? When we're sitting around nitpicking, tearing down each other, when we're sitting around looking for faults in each other, is that holding on to the rope of Islam together? When we're calling each other kafir or innovator or deviator or whatever because you see something that person's doing, ain't got nothing to do with his belief, nothing to do with Tawheed, but because you disagree that sister has on makeup. Let's use that as an example. I keep telling y'all makeup is not haram, and I challenge any human being on this planet to prove it to be haram. You can't prove it. There's no verse, no nas that says that. Not in the Quran or the Hadith, but I can give you about 50 hadiths that show the Prophet's wives wore makeup outside, even during Hajj. All right? But because you don't like the fact that somebody got on makeup, you're going to call that person a kafir. You're going to call that woman a prostitute. Does that sound like a person who's holding on to the rope of Allah together? Or does that sound like a person that's dividing? Okay? So to achieve this noble and exceptional goal of steadfastness, here you can see the Quran guides us as to how to do it by uniting with each other as a community of believers and protecting our faith, reminding each other, advising each other. And remember, we're a people of dalil. We're people of evidence. If you're doing something that's haram or wrong or bad, you have to bring the clear evidence, not a fatwa, not a verse of the Quran that you twisted around in your own words. It has to clearly say makeup is haram. You ain't gonna find it. All right? So this verse of the Quran emphasizes the significance of unity and cooperation amongst the Muslims, and by holding firm to the teachings of the Quran and the hadiths of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and implementing the understanding of those companions who were the best of this nation. This is how we strengthen our faith. This is how we protect ourselves from the perils of division and disunity. This verse also highlights Allah's blessings upon us. Allah is reminding how we used to be divided. We used to be people of racism. We used to be people of hatred. But now look, through converting to Islam or through adapting Islam as your way of life, now you don't suffer with that ignorance. So again, these verses of the Quran are crucial in establishing unity and steadfastness. And again, these verses also show the importance of having an Islamic community within the society that you live. Establish a Muslim state, not an Islamic state, a Muslim state within your society. So now let's see how well you guys understood this, these pages today. And this was pages 164 through 168. And I really like how Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid, you can tell that he's an imam. I think the reason why he did so well with this, these pages is because he's the imam of an Islamic center. He's also a creator of an Islamic school. He's the one that established SunnahfollowersShop.org, which is an international homeschool. So no matter where you are in America, your children can homeschool through his program. So that's why he did such a good job here, because he has established a Muslim state where he lives and across other parts of America. So let's see how well you guys can answer these questions here. Question number 1. Once a person's fitra has been awakened, what will his or her soul be drawn to do? Who can answer that? Since the light in your heart has been awakened, what will you be drawn to do now? What is it that you're seeking out? Go ahead.
Do all the good deeds that's pleasing to Allah. As far as in, you want to do like prayers and like everything. As far as in, let me give an example. Like, say for instance, your fitra has been awakened, so you want to do like more prayers because you want to get closer to Allah. So you would do like of course your obligatory prayers, and then even the ones to do extra to bring.
Okay, that's one of the things. You'll be drawn to do more good deeds. But other than good deeds, what else will you be drawn to do? What will your soul seek out? Not deeds, but what will your soul be seeking for? Seeking. Go ahead.
Other Muslims to be in.
Yes, exactly. Your soul will be drawn to look out, find other Muslims like you, other practicing Muslims. You may have been raised Muslim, but none of your friends are practicing. Or you may be Muslim, but you hanging around with kafirs. So your soul will be drawn to seek out others like you. Good job. Who are practicing this religion. Good job. Okay, next question. Are obligated to do with following. I'm going to put them up one at a time, and you tell me if it's something that we're obligated to do. Let's look at the first thing. Well, this is a different question. Let me do it again. I got another question like this. Muslims living in the West are obligated to do which? Are they obligated to establish a Muslim state within the Western society? Or are they obligated to make the Western society they live in a Muslim state? Which answer is correct? Say it again, baby. I'm sorry. He said the first one. Who's that gave the answer? Yasmin?
Asthma.
Oh, that's asthma. That's
No, Yasna, Sister Shamika's daughter.
Oh, okay. Oh, Shamika's baby. Okay, get her closer to the mic. What y'all think, guys? She said living in the West, we're obligated to establish a Muslim state within the Western society. Anybody disagree?
I agree with her.
Okay, any other answers on YouTube? Do I have anybody on YouTube?
Sakina said the first one as well.
Okay, good. MashaAllah, that's the correct answer, guys. We're not obligated to make the Western society a Muslim state. That's what the terrorists do. That's what the Kharijites do. That's what those Al-Qaeda and them do. They twist this around. Y'all see how they got it twisted? This is what happens when we don't understand Tawheed. They don't understand. Obligated to we can live anywhere on this earth. Allah says you can live anywhere on this earth as long as you're able to practice your religion. And wherever you live, you should establish a Muslim state there. They don't understand that. They think that means, you know, force everybody to be Muslim and kill them and cut off their heads and all that crazy stuff. This is what happens when you don't learn the hadiths. Do y'all see why learning the hadiths is important? The hadiths, the way the companions migrated to Abyssinia, that's an example. That's an example how to turn a Western society into a Muslim state. But if you don't know the hadiths, you don't know the history, so you're going to take the verses of the Quran and twist them around to terrorism. Okay? Next question. How do we as Muslims go about establishing a Muslim state within our society? So that's the second question here. How do we go about, we live here in America, so how do we go about establishing a Muslim state here? What do we do?
Building Islamic centers.
MashaAllah, that's the baby again. See how the children, this makes sense to the kids. She said, first of all, build an Islamic center. Build a mosque. Good job. Any other answers? Exactly. And after we build the mosques, we remind each other of what our obligations are. Remind each other what our rules and guidelines are as Muslims. Does everybody understand this? This is some powerful stuff that most men don't understand. That's why you have Al-Qaeda and Hamas, all those groups. By the way, Hamas is a terrorist group too. Don't get it twisted. They're terrorists too. Don't get it twisted. That's what these terrorist groups don't understand. Okay, next question. When establishing a Muslim state within society, the state will entail which of the following? Now, this is the question. I'm going to put an answer up one at a time. And you're going to tell me that by establishing a Muslim state, should I do this as well? Here's the first one. Helping one another in times of need. Is this something we should do when establishing a Muslim state?
Helping at times of need.
Exactly. Y'all agree with her? She said that this is, yes, good job. Yes. Exactly. This is one of the things that we have to do in order to establish a Muslim state. What about this one? Offer support financially to each other. Do we have to do that?
Yes.
Yes, good job. That's what that zakat is supposed to be for. Instead of sending your zakat to Gaza, I keep telling y'all, That zakat ain't supposed to go to Gaza. That zakat is supposed to stay right there for the Muslims in your Muslim state. If we would do what Allah said, do with our zakat and keep it at home to help the Muslims here, then we wouldn't have any needy Muslims in the world. But y'all sending y'all money overseas to Gaza and all them other places and Syria, your Muslims here don't have no help. The Muslims here in America are forced to get credit cards. Let's talk about it. Y'all want to talk about interest? You're forcing people to take interest credit cards. You're forcing the Muslims to resort to sin because they can't come to you, the Muslim state, and ask for any financial support because you sent it across the ocean. We have to start thinking better, guys, as a Muslim community. That money goes here. Now, the zakat al-fitr, that's a little bit different. But the regular zakat, your charity tax, that's for the Muslims right here who need it. Stop forcing Muslims to take out credit cards because they have no help. All right? What about this? When establishing a Muslim state within society, does that entail establishing an educational system for the children?
Yes.
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 MashaAllah, yes it does. We need to have our own schools for the children. So the children can not only get a secular education, but learn their deen, which is what Kareem Abu Zayd has done. That's why he did this chapter so well. He's done all of this. He's got a good community. SubhanAllah. What about this? When establishing a Muslim state within society, does that entail implementation and enforcement of Islamic laws and morality?
Yes.
Everybody agree? Anybody disagrees? Good job. Exactly. That's the purpose of us having a mosque, Islamic center, or a website like this. So we can implement and enforce the laws of morality. We can teach the lawful and the unlawful. Teach the children what to stay away from. Teach the marriages, the husband and wives, what things to not do as a marriage couple, and etc. What about, huh?
YouTube responded yes to everything.
Okay, good, good. What about this? When establishing a Muslim state within society, the state will entail also implementation and enforcement of Islamic laws of punishment. What do y'all think about that one? Come on, people, this stuff is easy. Why y'all got quiet?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You guys agree? Does anybody
No.
disagree? Who disagrees?
I said no.
Why? Tell them why.
Because as far as the punishments and things like that goes, that's only in the Islamic states and countries. Implement that in the non-Muslim countries.
Exactly. This one we do not enforce because this is not an Islamic state. America is a Western country. And where's my dalil? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, our laws are for us. Our laws are for us. Only us living in an Islamic state. What's the source? What's the source? Sahih Muslim. That's see what happens when these terrorist groups don't learn the hadith. They don't know that one either. We cannot subject our laws to non-Muslims. Okay? We don't do that. Our laws are for us, and the prophet said their laws are for them. So we don't implement nor enforce Islamic laws of punishment. Punishment, that's different. Because you stole an orange, I can't cut your hand off. If I cut your hand off, I'm going to jail here in America. Okay? That's against the law. And this is not an Islamic state. We have established a Muslim environment within this society, but not an Islamic state. Y'all understand the difference? Is that clear? I cannot stone you to death because you fornicated. Because you adulterated. And I cannot give you 80 lashes because you fornicated. I cannot enforce the Islamic laws of punishment here because this is not an Islamic state. We can do other things such as boycott. That's what the companions did when they were in Abyssinia. Again, this is why we have to learn the hadiths. When the companions lived in Abyssinia, they did not enforce no laws of punishment. They did a lot of boycotting. For example, when Sauda, radiallahu anha's husband, became a drunk, they boycotted him. Okay? Habiba's husband apostated. They didn't kill him. When he apostated, they boycotted him. And Allah caused him to get drunk and get in a fight, and he ended up getting killed. But he wasn't killed because he apostated. He was killed because he got drunk and started fighting with the people. And the other people killed him, not the Muslims anyway. So our laws are for us. This is what those terrorist groups don't understand. We cannot implement or enforce Islamic laws of punishment in a Western society, though, but we can implement and enforce the laws of morality. The laws of morality we can enforce, but not the laws of punishment. Does everybody else understand that?
Oh yeah, and don't forget to join us in the 24-hour Zoom room for behind the scenes access.